Now, today we're gonna have a pretty much red line in attacking a mainframe in 3 to 4 sessions. We're going to start off with Jake, who's going to give us a demo on cracking Kerberos TGS tickets on Z Linux. Then I suppose we will have a little break. Then Phil is going to take us through a choose your own adventure game where we are going to virtually attack a mainframe. Then Davide is going to do a live hacking scenario based on real world examples. And we are going to repeat that attack with some detection. And then we close off with some discussion. So with that being said, seeing as we have a good mix of GSE members and non-GSE members in this session, just a quick overview of what the GuideShare Europe is all about. Well, you can see it here. We're present all across Europe with a lot of working groups on a lot of different subjects, and you can find all about those at the website gse.org. A quick note on the security Workgroup, which is Dutch for Workgroup. Currently, I am the ad interim chairman of the working group. We are desperately looking for someone else because I don't have that much time, to be honest. And we also have an open position within the IBM organization for someone to be a liaison for this work group. We have members from various Dutch companies, and we help each other with security-related challenges. And pre-pandemic, we would also usually have 3 meetings per year and deliver a session at our national conference. Officially, we're members only. A GSE membership is required to attend these meetings, but as you all notice, for those who are not coming from a GSE member organization, we do promote guest attendees. And keep in mind that we can't keep on letting non-members returning, but I think that's clear. So if you want to join the working group, please send an email to me until we have a new chairman for the working group. Here are the links. These presentations will be made available afterwards, so no need to jot them down. We have a mailing list you can add yourself on, and on the GSE website you can read all about memberships. So for today's goal, we're going to try and show you some attacks on the mainframe you probably never thought of, teach you some red team tricks on attacking a mainframe, and hopefully we're going to have a good day. We try and do some breaks in between, and that's it. Let me switch back and stop the share. Maybe to add, this is the first time we're doing a virtual workgroup meeting, so I don't think everything is going to be as fluent and easygoing as one might expect, but there has to be a first time for everything. With that being said, I hope that Jake is ready. Are you ready, Jake?
Yeah, my audio is working.
Your audio is working. I will mute myself, and for people joining in, please keep yourself muted. And then the floor is yours, Jake.
Can people see the...
Yeah, the screen is good, Jake.
And people can see my PowerPoint, or?
We see a browser with a PDF.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. How do I go full screen? It's not letting me go full screen for some reason, but that's fine. Okay, yeah, so I'm Jake Labelle. I'm an associate security consultant, and my talk's going to be on Kerberoasting on ZOS. And so I'll go into a... Sorry, 2 seconds. Okay, yeah. Oh, there we go. So I'll do a quick introduction in what Kerberos is. So it's, instead of sending passwords to a service, you just send a ticket, and you get the ticket from a key distribution center. You can set up ZOS to be a KDC, and so you need to have DNS set up, as it uses domain names for what the services are, and you also have realms, which are a number of domains will be in a realm, and they can all interact together. So when you're defining Kerberos, you have a number of principals and services. Principals are just normal users. You request a ticket granting ticket, a TKT, TGT, and this requires a user's password or certificate. And you has a pre-auth, so you can't just brute force passwords. It won't let you do that. But you can still enumerate principals. So for example, if you ask for a Jake TGT, if Jake doesn't exist in there, it will send something different back than if Jake was there. So you also have Kerberos services. So these are just services running on a domain. So for example, FTP will be on the domain zos.jake.net. You'll have a service principal, ftp/zos.jake.net. And this, if you want to use the FTP service for the Kerberos ticket, you need to request a ticket granting service. And when you request a TGS, it will send you back some encrypted data, and the encrypted data will be encrypted with normally the password of that service and the realm, and that is the initialization vector. One thing you have to have is, if you ask for a TGS, you need to have a ticket granting ticket beforehand, and yeah, that lets you use the services. So one, like a known attack that has been around for a while, is Kerberoasting. And so if you have a ticket granting ticket, you can request a ticket granting service, and because that encrypted piece of data is encrypted with the password, you can then try to crack that encrypted data. And there's a number of Kerberos encryption types on Hashcat that you can go for. So the way you defend against this is use long, complicated passwords. It requires a ticket granting ticket, so not everyone can request a TGS, and you can only get ticket granting services for principals with a service principal name, and you can also use a tough to crack algorithm, so don't use RC4 HMAC. So the way that Kerberos is implemented in ZOS is that you can define a Kerberos segment in Rakuf. So for example, here we're adding a Kerberos principal to the user golden, and the principal name is gold. And then you can then list the segment. So from here you can see the important bits of information is that the Kerberos principal name, which is, so if you have the ticket for gold, it's basically the same thing as having the password for golden. But the key is derived from the password. You can either decide to do this from password or phrase. Obviously, doing it from the phrase is a lot better, which you'll see later. There's a number of Kerberos enabled services on ZOS. So there's SSH, FTP, DB2, and Kix. I haven't got that working on the ZPDT, but I have done SSH and FTP on there. And so here's just an example of FTPing to. So I KN'd to Jake, and then I can then FTP to the domain, and if I give it, I can then it will then authenticate using my ticket. And if you set it up, you can set it up so FTP won't require a password if you give it this. So then once you've done this, it will store the ticket. So for example, you can see my my principal. There's the client principal and the server that I got the TGS for. So the pros and cons of the ZOS Kerberos implementation. So pro, you can't set it to be RC4 HMAC as the encryption algorithm, which is good. You can't disable pre-auth, at least I wasn't able to. And that keys derived from phrases are unlikely to be cracked. Unfortunately, the cons are keys derived from passwords are very easy to be cracked. 8 characters of uppercase and digits aren't very good for offline cracking. And the other thing which I found out was that no matter which, so for example, the gold user, even though that would be like a client, that would just be like a normal principal, that's still defined as you can still request a TGS for that user, which is different from Windows, where you have to specifically say. And the other problem is that mainframes have a lot of users, so if you just find one of them which you can crack, which has UID 0 or has special, then yeah, it's game over. So I created a tool to just you can do this all remotely, but I wanted to write a tool so I could Kerberoast locally from the from USS. So it's a C program compiled for S390. You give it the realm that you're trying to attack, the client principal that you have a password for, then the password for it, a list of SPNs and a list of hosts, and then it'll then enumerate the SPNs, just like it'll put the SPNs you give it and then mix and match them with the hosts that you give it. It'll be more clear on the next page. It will then output all of these. Anytime it finds it gets a TGS, it will just write that to a file. It will also decode. So the encrypted data is in AS1 format, which I haven't really actually implemented, but I've just kind of done a hacky way to find the encrypted data and just put it and find the stuff that I need. It will then take the encrypted part and prepare it to make it into a hash, which you can then just pass the hashcat, and it will find the passwords. And yeah, you can do this remotely, but I decided to do it locally because. So setup, you're just a regular user, and just a normal. You have your compiled underscore baby, and you. Oh yeah, hashcat is just it's just you give it a load of hashes, and it will. You can try and crack passwords, and there's a number of different formats of ways. So you can, for example, just give it a list of passwords, and then it will try and see if any of those it can crack. Or you can, for example, do a mask where you can go do all of characters that look like a certain way. So, for example, I want it to look for uppercase digit, uppercase digit, and then it will try and crack. It will try and use all of that, try and create all of those. So, yep. So, for example, this shows the hosts and the SPNs that I've got ready. So when you run it, so the SPNs, Jake Gold and FTP, and the host zos.jake.net, ubuntu.jake.net. And so it gets the ticket granting ticket that you've given it, so Jake, and then it will then attempt to find, so it will enumerate them. So it finds that Jake at jake.net it can get a TGS for that. Can't find it for jake/zos.jake.net. Finds it for gold at jake.net, and also finds it for ftp/zos.jake.net. So once that's done, it will then output all of the hashes into a file called krb5 underscore hashcat. And so just I don't know, use FTP to get this onto your wherever you're running Hashcat from. And so this is just, so first off, I just ran it with a password list. Doesn't take that long if you're just running it with just a list of passwords. And you can see that it finds the password for gold, finds the password for FTP, and finds my Jake password. So what you'd probably be running it on, because you don't actually know, you probably won't have a password list, is a mask attack. So this one is just, so I created this is a custom character set of uppercase or digit, and five of those in a row. And that took 1 hour and 36 minutes to complete. So an actually sophisticated attacker who isn't running Hashcat from a VM in a kind of slow laptop is probably going to find even an 8-letter password isn't going to protect against this type of mask attack if they had enough computing power, which the type of people who are attacking mainframes would have that. So I guess the too long didn't read is, if you're going to use Kerberos, make certain that your keys are derived from phrases, especially if your Kerberos are higher privilege than, for example, like UID 0 or even a special account. I don't know if those would have Kerberos things, but yeah, it's yeah, that's I guess that's it. Does anyone have any questions? All right, let me just.
Can you read the questions in the chat, Jake? Are you monitoring those?
Oh yeah, just so oh yeah. So I've got. Yeah, it is on GitHub. I can share it. So you can just use normal Kerberos. I can share the GitHub link. It's fine. It's not very. I'm not a very good C programmer, so yeah, no one judged my C programming skills, but you can just use normal Kerberoasting programs. But one thing I did find was that the pre-auth that ZOS allows is either encrypted timestamps or PKInit. And PKInit is accepted by most. That's like using certificates to do pre-auth. But encrypted timestamp is a lot of Kerberos clients I've seen don't actually do that pre-auth. So a lot of times, like other Kerberos Kerberoasting programs will fail against ZOS just because it doesn't know how to do encrypted timestamps.
There's 2 more questions in the chat, Jake. I'll read them out for you. That might be easier. One question is, how easy is the enumeration of Kerberos users?
Oh, okay, yeah. So that's there's nothing that will stop you from. So, for example, Kerberos users. Do you mean services or? So for services, you just have to kind of guess if they're, for example, like if you know you've got a host that has FTP on it, then maybe try FTP / whatever domain you're on. Or, for example, if you know that it has SSH, try host / whatever domain you're on, and that might find it. And then I guess you could also just, with the enumeration of just the normal users, you kind of just have to guess and just hope that you find it. But it's yeah, there's nothing that, I don't think there's a way to know unless you just go through them. But there's nothing that stops you from just continuously sending requests to the server to see if there's to see if that user exists. So you can enumerate it, but it might look quite suspicious from if an attacker was doing it, you'd probably notice that someone was enumerating it. And yeah. And I guess the how does it find the other SBNs? Oh, it just uses the that's the other reason why I made this, is it uses the Kerberos just just uses the Kerberos library that's on any every MIT Kerberos just has this Kerberos library, so it's just using the Kerberos stuff.
Cool. Thank you very much, Jake. If there are no other questions, and if we are still having enough energy left, I think we best slide into Phil's presentation. Just to check, maybe before we start Phil's presentation, seeing as this is a choose your own adventure. Oh, and there's one more question coming. Give me a second, Erik, please. For the choose your own adventure, we have to choose our destination as an audience in the presentation Phil's gonna give us. So I would like to try the raise hand function in the WebEx client. So if we could maybe all try the raise your hand to see if that works. Yeah, that works. Cool. So that means whenever we get to a choosing point following Phil's talk, I will reiterate the three options and then raise your hands for the options that you can pick from, and then we'll go for the option with the most raised hands, I think would be the way to go. With that being said, thank you very much again, Jake. And Phil, the floor is yours.
Oh, shall I quickly?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I forgot that one. Sorry.
So you do. Yeah, there is a. I do remember seeing on the console a thing. So if someone says something, it will say some user was not found in the realm. So yeah, it does. There will be a syslog message when an unexisting user is tried.
Yeah. So if you're enumerating the users, that can get quite noisy.
Yep.
Cool.